The Taming of Coyote, Chapter 2. Aunt Esther turned the dial on the ornate oil lamp. It brought a soft glow to the den. It was not the only light, however. A soft flicker came from the crackling fire within the hearth as well. Uncle Homer sat in his chair and dipped a match into his pipe. He held it firmly between his teeth as he puffed the tobacco to life. Sonia padded from her room. She was now dressed in a long white simple cotton nightgown. Legs crossed, she sat herself down on the floor before Uncle Homer and waited. His words had been eating at her, and it had been hard for her to wait. "Our family has a very dark past," Uncle Homer began. "It all started with those very woods." Sonia listened with intense curiosity. "My great-great-grandfather told this story to my great-grandfather, who then told it to my father, who then told it to me. Generations have passed, but there's always the worry that the seed will grow again and history will repeat. My great-great-grandfather once had an older sister named Ravyn. When she was your age, she spent her childhood days playing in those woods, much as you do now. Back then, things were very different in this village. The church had not yet been built. In fact, the religion we observe now wasn't even known to turn. They practiced old ways, pagan ways." Sonia sucked in a breath. She was prepared to make a comment, but at the last minute she decided that perhaps it was just not wise, and she chose against it. Uncle Homer had paused to hear what he thought she had to say. When it became obvious that she would not speak, he felt safe to continue. "Within those woods was a powerful spirit, a local deity of sorts. He was highly respected and regarded by the village of Turn. His name was Coyote. They believed that he was responsible for the bountiful hunting and grand success of Turn after it was built. Coyote took a grand fancy to Ravyn. It chose to pursue her. You see, it is said that Coyote is able to take on many forms, but his true form was ugly like a troll. In order to win Ravyn, he cast a spell on her, bewitched her with his evil magic. Ravyn wasn't much older than you when that devil tricked her into marriage. For the next few years, she became a sort of slave to him and his carnal desires. He kept her submissive to him and terrified to run. No one dared to try and free her for fear of Coyote's wrath. He was, after all, the most powerful spirit in the area. It wasn't until the church came into Turn that hope could be found. The church converted and enlightened the village. Turn needn't fear the devil and his legions. With God, they had the power to expel Coyote and his black magic. When the village grew confident, they waited for the beast to go off hunting. Then the people of Turn stormed the home they had made, and they brought Ravyn to the square. Reverend Grundle, the man who led the godly way to Turn, offered her the chance to finally find freedom and redemption. Ravyn, if she could accept the hand of God, could be freed from her marriage and expel the devil that was her husband from Turn. Unfortunately for Ravyn, the salvation came too late. Coyote had bewitched her for so long with the magic so strong that she was brainwashed. She was beyond saving and had become a witch. Coyote had successfully poisoned her soul. She was considered to be a danger after that. To protect the newly converted people of Turn, the new church decided to burn her at the stake. Certainly, when Coyote had returned to find out what had happened, he grew absolutely furious. His slave had been taken from him, and the village he once ruled as a false god had turned on him to accept the true God. That he would not stand for. He vowed his revenge on the villagers of Turn and attacked full force. He and his army of woodland devils came upon the village like a rain of death to punish it. It was only when Coyote himself was captured that the woodland devils retreated. To finally end his reign of terror, Coyote was slain by Reverend Grundle himself and displayed in the square as a symbol of God's triumph over evil. "So, why worry about it anymore?" Sonia asked. "Coyote is dead." Uncle Homer slammed his fist down on the arm of the chair. No! Coyote could not be defeated so easily. After a few days, the carcass was gone without a trace. There was no sign of his existence. He is a devil. He is immortal. He is dangerous. His vow still stands. He will not be happy until every last member of Turn is destroyed, and his revenge has come full circle. If anyone ventures into those woods, they are prime pickings for Coyote and his servants. A child would be an easy victim to the woodland devils. So, do you understand, Sonia? The woods are not safe. It is just waiting, like a geyser, to explode forth and destroy anything it can catch from Turn. Coyote is still out there. You may get away once, or even a million times, but in the end, he will get you. Sonia frowned. It was a lot to take in. Evil, vengeful spirits. Her ancestor burned as a witch. The village was small and only a handful of generations in age. Considering just how relatively few generations had passed, the wound was still deep. Was that why people would look at her so strangely? It was her habits plus a history that she had not known until now. Go to bed, Sonia, Aunt Esther said suddenly. Go to bed, Sonia, Aunt Esther said suddenly. It pulled her from her thoughts. You need your rest. I'm going to need your help tomorrow. Harvest is almost upon us, and there is much work to be done. So there will be no wandering off, especially into those woods. Do you hear me? Yes, Aunt Esther, she sighed. I hear you. They won't wander off. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. Will you obey? Sonia let out another sigh. Yes, ma'am. I'll stay home. The stars glittered outside. The moon was shining down on the world with brilliant radiance. It was a full moon. It illuminated over the village as if a dampened sun. Sonia could see much of the farm clearly from her bedroom window. She let out a sigh as she stared up at the twinkling stars. The smell outside was so fresh. Owls hooted on their hunt. Crickets chirped in their evening orchestra. Frogs serenaded one another. Nature was so pure and so honest. Even now it called to her. Still, her uncle's words echoed in the back of her mind. Suddenly, a shadow caught her eye. It now had her full attention as she squinted her eyes to see. At first, she thought that it was likely a member of their herd. However, that shape was no cow, nor was it a goat. She gasped. A coyote! There's a coyote in the yard! The light cast down by the moon behind it darkened its colors so that it was well defined yet shadowed heavily. Even still, Sonia could see its eyes, glowing yellow, a twinkling of green, staring right at her. So far away the coyote was, yet it felt like they had locked eyes. It sent chills up Sonia's back. It turned up its head and flattened its ears as it let out a long, ghostly howl. It sounded so haunting and yet so beautiful. Sonia was unsure if she should be terrified or enchanted by the melodious banshee. After it ended, however, the coyote leapt up suddenly and took to a gallop until it was out of sight. Sonia seemed frozen. Her eyes stayed wide as her mind tried desperately to process and accept what she had just seen. Had she just seen it? Should she tell someone? Would anyone believe her? She soon, for some reason, decided against it. The coyote had fled and into the opposite direction of the hen house. It had been alone, so there was little worry that it could take on an entire herd of protective cows and raging bulls. No, she would say nothing.